So, guys, I just did a lesson on Daniel and how when God has a place for you to be, when God elevates you, no one is going to be able to stop that. And now today, again, I want to speak with you about something that's in Daniel chapter 6. Now, there is a new king, and his name was Darius. Okay, and uh, Darius still favored, still favored Daniel. Okay, and they were jealous. The other princes and the astrologers and soothsayers were very jealous of Daniel. You know, he had favor with King Nebuchadnezzar. He had favor with his son Belshazzar, or was it Belshazzar, I believe? Let me look. Yeah, Belshazzar. And now here is the new king, Darius, and here he is, Daniel's being preferred and being put above all the princes because of the spirit of excellence. And so the other princes were jealous and they were trying to find something. They wanted to find something on Daniel, but they just could not find anything on him. And as I said in my last lesson, sometimes when people cannot find something, they're going to try to use something against you. You see what I'm saying? They're going to create a narrative and they'll try to get others on board with them to do you harm. So we see here in Daniel chapter 6 and 5, they came together and they said, "We will not find any occasion against this Daniel except we find it against him concerning the law of his God." All right? So when they can't find something, when people cannot find fault with you, they'll try to trap you. You understand? And so in this case, they knew that Daniel was very faithful regarding God, and he's going to pray and he's not going to go against them. So what they did, they conspired together and they decided that they were going to go to King Darius and talk him into making a decree. And in this decree, they were saying basically, you know, you are the king and you are great. And they're asking that no one should be able to pray to any other God or inquire of anyone for 30 days unless they come to you, or they will be cast in the lion's den. So the king of Persia had no idea. I'm sorry, he's the Median. He did not know, Darius did not know why they approached him. They just came to him and they said to him, "King Darius, live forever." But this has nothing to do with the king living forever, does it? They have an ulterior motive. And they said, "All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together." You see that? They consulted together. This is going to be a very common trait of these individuals. They've all come together, all the presidents, except for Daniel, the governors, the counselors. Now, granted, if you go back, you see that Daniel was over everybody. Okay? Daniel was over all these people. So, over the presidents, Daniel was first. Okay? But he didn't know about this because they conspired against him. And they all conspired against him and says, "All the presidents, we have decided that no one should be able to make any petitions to any god or man for 30 days. And naturally, if they were coming to him, Darius might have thought Daniel was okay with it.
I really began to think about why 30 days. But if you really think about it, why did they make this decree for 30 days? Why not 6 months? Why not a year? Because, guys, 30 days is normally the amount of time it takes to break you out of certain habits. So, what was their plan, among other things, for Daniel? to take him off course.
So they came to him and they say, make a decree, make a firm decree. And so they're saying, now, O king, establish a decree and sign the writing that it should not be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which alters not. Which means once this law is signed, it cannot be changed. So they are going to him, praising him, saying that, oh, king, live forever. And they're saying, let's make this rule that no one can go to any other god except come to you first for 30 days. Make this law, make this rule. So they're pushing his hand while appearing to be praising him, to entrap him, because they know that he favors Daniel. So they're coming to him as if they are saying, you're so wise and this is all about you, but in fact we're going to use you to trap yourself. So you have to go against you're going to go against how you personally feel about Daniel, and you're going to have to kill him yourself. Entrapment. What's the lesson to learn out of this, guys? You got to really ask God to open up your eyes to people when they come to you appearing to be in favor, when in fact they're coming to you and they may be asking you something or saying, this is what we talked about. Always ask the Lord to show you the heart of people and not just take their word for it. I'm not telling you to live a paranoid life. I'm not telling you that everybody that comes to you has an ulterior motive. What I'm saying is we have to be in a habit of saying, Lord, reveal the motive and the intent and the heart of these individuals, regardless of it's the majority, regardless of, oh, we were all talking, because sometimes people will be coming to you and their heart is not with you. You must consider diligently what's before you, according to the proverb. Because that person will say, eat, drink, be merry, but in their hearts are drawn sword. And it's the same thing. These individuals are saying to Daniel, saying to Darius, oh, king, live forever. Let's make this rule that no one can go to any god or man for 30 days except for you. And of course, that's going to stroke the ego and the pride of King Darius. And he's probably thinking Daniel probably said this was okay as well. And so he does it, not realizing that this rule, this decree that they're coming to him for, this meeting that they had without Daniel. How many meetings have people called without you? How many meetings, how many phone calls, how many Zoom meetings and things were done without you? But never fear, God hears. You don't need to hear. God's in control. And so he signs the decree. And Daniel knew, it says in verse 10, Daniel knew that the decree had been signed, but he still opened up his window. He didn't even hide. He could have been hiding. He could have locked himself in, but he was still going to worship and pray to God. And he opened up his chambers toward Jerusalem. He kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks. And so the men assembled. They got together and they went skulking around. Oh, they see him praying. And they're like, oh, okay, we gotta go. He's praying, let's go. So they go before the king and they ask him, did you say that anybody that did you sign a petition that any man or that any petition to any god or man for 30 days, no one should do this unless they come to you first? Or they're going to be putting the lines down. They're going to throw that in there. The setup questions. Learn to pick up on these things. Remember when you said, discern and listen to what people are saying. And so he answers. And then they says, oh, well, Daniel is not listening. He's praying 3 times a day. And so it says in verse 14 that the king was very sad and displeased with himself. And so he took some time to himself. And then now all day he's thinking about this. And now they come back to him. Remember what you said. And when you make a decree, it must be done. You can't go back on your word. So now they're trapping him. Notice they assembled unto the king. They came in. Like some deadly roaches just came in. You have to remember, once you say this, it cannot be changed. And the king, being the king, is very sad. And he commands that Daniel will be delivered into the lion's den. And the king was so worried, and he prayed. And they put a stone at the opening of the den to make sure that Daniel wouldn't come out. And he had to go now and seal that stone with his own signet, so that the law and what he has commanded could not be changed. And he was heartbroken. And it says that he didn't even want to hear any music that day. And he fasted all night, and he was troubled. He could not sleep. And first thing in the morning, he got up and he ran and he called and said, Daniel, have your God saved you? Have he delivered you? And of course, Daniel answers and said, yes, I was innocent. I've done no wrong. And so the Lord sent an angel who shut the mouths of the lions. And the king brought him out, and he was so happy. And everyone that accused Daniel were thrown into the den. The men which accused Daniel, that group, there was no one that was going to be able to say, oh, it was his idea. She's the one that said that. I didn't say. I was just there. I just showed up. I didn't say anything. You better be careful who you assemble with and who you assemble against. Let's say it again. You better be careful who you assemble yourself with and who you assemble against. Some of you in the mob, and you think because, well, I was in the back, I didn't say anything, I didn't initiate it. You're going to be guilty by association. Birds of a feather flock together. You're going against somebody, you don't know who it is. Just because God is not striking people dead, and you're not being thrown in a lion's den, you set things in motion on yourself when you assemble against people who have done you no harm. When you just going along, following the crowd. And so what happens? All the men. Why? Why did all of them get in there? Because they assembled together and they consulted together. They were finding occasion against Daniel. You see it over and over. They sought to find an occasion. You see? Oh, he's faithful. We can't find anything about him. Well, let's use his belief in God against him. Let's make it where we can say you can't pray at school. Let's make it where, when you pray, you can't say in Jesus' name. Let's make it where they have to be silent or lose their jobs. Let's make this up. And so you see these men, they were finding occasions and they consulted together. You see, when they went to the king, they said, we consulted together. And they assembled to go find Daniel. They found him praying. They knew where to find him because he was faithful in his prayer. And they assembled and they went back to the king. And so now when everything turned around, they were all going to be killed together. And so what happened? These men and their wives and their children were thrown in there. Their children, what their children got to do with anything? God don't play, y'all. God do not play. He does not play around. People better stop thinking God is this little guy with furry hair. God does not play. And so, you see, trying to destroy Daniel had no children at this point. Daniel had no wife. I don't recall reading him being married. But Daniel had things in him. Perhaps he did have children. We're just reading about this now. We're reading only about a snapshot of Daniel's life. But they were willing to kill him, which means they were willing to destroy his seed that was still within him. People, you got to understand that when you're trying to destroy people, you're looking at that person, but you're not looking at the lineage, the seed, the promises, the things that God has in this person that they're trying to destroy. They're trying to get you sometimes. They don't know that trying to destroy you is trying to trying to get rid of you, they're messing with you, they're messing with God. Because God has some things that's placed in you. And so they were thrown in the lion's den. And this reminds me a lot of, I could see his name. He hated Esther's uncle. Let me go look that name up. Haman was the name of the king's close counselor. And Mordecai, he hated Mordecai. Mordecai refused to bow down before him because Mordecai's like, I only bow down before the Most High God. And of course, Esther was his cousin. I thought she was his niece, but Esther was Mordecai's cousin. Okay? She was his uncle's daughter, and I believe she lost her parents. So this reminds me what happened to Daniel, what happened to these men being thrown into the den that they wanted him cast into. Remind me of the gallows that Haman built. Haman built a gallows, and he was going to have Daniel hung on it. He wanted to execute all the Jews just because of just because of Mordecai. He's going to hang Mordecai on it because Mordecai would not bow down to him. He had his own ulterior motive, but when he went down to the king, King Ahasuerus, he made up this whole big thing. These people are trying to come against you, and they're problematic, and they're not following you, all because of his vendetta against against Mordecai. So he was going to just kill a bunch of people. That's how bent this guy was. And so he was building gallows, and he had decrees and things made out because the king trusted him. But he did not know, the king did not see his heart and didn't see his ulterior motive. And so he signed a decree. And here's Ahasuerus. I'm getting this name mixed up. Here's Haman walking around with a signed decree from the king saying, he's bragging about who he's going to get rid of, and smirking and looking at Mordecai like, yeah, you're going to die in a while. And he built the gallows, but who ended up getting hung on those gallows? Haman did. Him and his family all got killed, and the children of Israel, the Jewish people, were saved. And so here we find the same thing happening with Daniel. These men were conspiring against him. But God saved him. The truth was revealed. And the king was so sorry. He realized he had been trapped. His good intentions, he trusted who was before him, didn't realize it was entrapment. They're going to take what he said or what he decreed to use it for their own vendettas to hurt other people. Sometimes, guys, we have to be careful what we say and who we give advice to, and take into consideration who's before you and what they're saying to you, because sometimes people will present things a certain way to you, and you may bless off on something and you find out later on it's being used to destroy somebody. And so your name and your reputation get messed up because you just thought, because this person, you've known them for so long and you made assumption. Never assume. You want to discern. Never assume. You want to discern. You don't know why people may come to you. And at the same time, let's flip it around. People are going to tell someone things about you, trying to set you up, make you look a certain way. But you be faithful and you stand strong on your faith in God and don't falter. What would have happened had Daniel said, well, I'm not going to, the king just signed this decree. Let me hide and pray, or let me not pray at all. Daniel would have ended up being thrown in the lion's den at some point anyway. Maybe right now he would have been able to escape persecution, but later on he would have lost his favor. he would have lost that wisdom. I believe in everything that his favor was because of his unwavering faith in God. There's a lot of people who are willing to compromise because they want to be in good graces with other people. And what they don't realize, you may get the favor, you may get the promotion, you may be in the circle, but you are losing something far more valuable. Instead of walking in the wisdom and the knowledge of God, you have been reduced to being a part of the assembly, the yes men. You're part of the snicker club. You sit and snicker about other people. You're part of the backbiting club now. You're part of those who assemble together and look to find fault in others to win favors. Basically, butt kissers. There's people, they live for that. They want to be the one to be able to tell, whoever the joke and to get the favor and, the kiss up crew in the church. Want to be noticed by the pastor, the yes man, say whatever, agree with whatever he says, telling on people. They're literally grown adults in ministries that their life, their accomplishment is to get the tea, to find out who messed up so they can go tell pastor. So they go tell the pastor. Go tell First Lady. Oh, First Lady, I found out about this. Oh, Lord. Like you care, for real. You get to be a part of the wine club now. Whining, telling, outing people, ousting people, exposing people. That is what this group will be like. Jealous, backbiters, manipulators. And so you may find that some people, they'll be in this group. They're hanging, but there's a price. They have to laugh at what's not funny. They have to point out, did you see that? They're like little, I remember watching a cartoon. It was a little puppy that'll be following after this bigger, look like a pit bull. And he'll be, yeah, Spike, yeah, Spike, yeah, Spike, get him, Spike, yeah, Spike. And Spike is just standing there indifferent. And he has a little toothpick in his mouth. He has a little puppy. What you gonna do, Spike? The little puppy's just jumping around. Yeah, Spike. And all Spike will do, he'll backhand him and be like, yeah, shut up. Spike was like, look, I know you're just here to, kiss my paws and all, but yeah, shut up. And so that's what happens. They're not like Scrappy from Scooby-Doo. Let me at him. Scrappy was bold. There's this little puppy just jumping around Spike. Yeah, Spike. And Spike's just walking around like, yeah, I know. Yeah, but yeah, shut up. Because these individuals, they need to be stroked all the time. These type of people, they have to have that amen corner and everybody's going along with them. But they know that they ain't nothing. A lot of times they know that. They know that they're garbage, some of them. But they keep these people around them, telling them lies. They know it's lies. They know that they're not virtuous. They know that they're not good. They know that because God makes it glaringly clear. You need to get yourself together. The Lord is telling them, according to Revelation chapter 3, you think you have no need of nothing, but you don't know that you are poor, miserable, broke, blind, naked. The Lord's already revealed that to them. So they run to their little circle. Lie to me, lie to me. So there are people who will sell out themselves and become as children. Telling folk tales, being busybodies, male and females. And so there will be these individuals that will be this way. But I want to encourage you, just like Daniel did. He remained fixed and he remained rooted and grounded and planted in the Lord. And the Lord vindicated him. You see, what you read about Daniel is everything wasn't always, even though Daniel believed, it did not mean he did not face persecution. Daniel might have felt away and said, Lord, first I was thrown into fire, and now I'm in a lion's den, and I'm believing you, and I'm having faith in you, and I'm still getting thrown into stuff. Are you hearing me, God? But you have to realize, we must realize that walking this walk in Christ and following God is not always going to be a box of roses. It's not always going to be happy trails. And I know sometimes we may say, well, there have been more trails than roses on, more nails than roses on my trail. What's going on? But nevertheless, keep moving forward. God knows what he's doing. God will vindicate you. The traps that people set for you, they will fall into it themselves. The Bible talks about that. The slippery slope that others will set for you, they will end up sliding and slipping right into it. God will reveal the truth of who you are. That even those they sent to hurt you, they'll see, nah, this is not right. You may have lions around you opening their mouth wide, but God will shut their mouths, and you will be exalted, not as a God, but as his vessel. There are lots of people who just walk in pride, and they walk in self. And there are lots of individuals that they can't appreciate the differences in other people. They don't look at the fact these princes did not see that they themselves are princes, and they are presidents, and they are in positions of honor. They're looking at Daniel and being mad at Daniel instead of looking at themselves. They were not able to see their unique contributions. But as long as individuals want to compare themselves to other people, they'll always be miserable, and they'll be taking counsel, and they'll be coming up with things and trying to trap and everything. And when they're trying to set traps, they're going to fall into their own traps. When they're going against others and trying to throw people down in a lion's den, they themselves are going to be consumed. Sometimes individuals, because they don't see the fallout and they don't see the ramifications right away, then they get comfortable in it. But as the word of God talks about in the Old Testament, someone may shed blood. The avenger is sent out to look for them and seeks them, and the avenger comes. So just because things are not manifesting, it's coming. It's making its way to you. And sometimes God is giving these individuals the opportunity to repent, to change, to stop, and to keep going. So you stay encouraged. You keep looking up to God. There's several lessons to learn here. Maintaining your faith in God. Keeping your eyes on him no matter what. Realizing that people will try to use your faith to entrap you, to get you to denounce God, even if it's just in an inadvertent way. It also tells us, we learn to really consider who's before us and why they may be asking you certain things. It also teaches us not to be a part of this group that's going against people, because just because you're silent is not going to make you any less guilty. Your silence can be consent. It teaches us how sometimes, for the sake of the wisdom and the knowledge, and for the sake of the word that's in you, you will be persecuted. And knowing that just because you're serving God and being faithful does not mean you won't experience hardship, persecution, and even attacks from people. But in all of it, you look up. Because what man do to the body has nothing to do with the soul. And it says, don't fear man who can destroy the body, but God who can fear both body and soul, who can destroy both body and soul in hell. Don't set traps unless you're prepared to fall into them. And the last thing that I want to say is this. Some of you, God has placed some things in you, but you're so afraid of what people are going to think about you. And you're so afraid to make people mad that you're trying to diminish yourself and you're trying to lower your light, okay? Which means you're hiding your light under a bushel. You don't want to upset people, but you need to know the difference between wisdom, what is wisdom, and discretion, and the difference between shame and fear. You may know things, but you don't want to. You know how to sing certain notes, but you're lowering your voice. You don't want to hit those ranges because you don't want to be seen. You don't want to play the instruments to the full capacity or bring that new sound because you don't want them to get jealous. But God is looking at you and saying, I place some things inside of you and you need to carry out whatever I've told you to do. Because he's not going to look at them. He's going to look at you. Why didn't you do what I told you to do? Sometimes you may not be in a place where you can thrive and you can grow. So if they don't want you there, you need to learn how to move and do what God tells you to do and stop being scared and stop being afraid and stop lowering your light and stop muzzling yourself because you don't want people to be jealous, because that means that what's more important to you is the approval of man rather than doing what God has called you to do. All right, guys, I think that is all I have here today. Please take a look at Daniel chapter 6, explore it, and hopefully you'll get your own interpretations out of it and be encouraged and uplifted as I was. God bless.